Well, we're live.
We're live. Live and in
we're
color.
Live, yeah. Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley's Joe Rayo.
That's right. And on Long Island, and I lived on Long Island for a number of years, so that's how they say it. The natives say that way.
And it certainly is.
And New Jersey, we have Joe Chiaffi, Fios One News Long Island, and Fios One News New Jersey, or New Guernsey.
That's right. Okay, so we're waiting for this, Joe, if this event were happening last winter, or the winter before that, or the winter before that, or the winter before that, and the winter before that. So if it happened, if something like this happened in any of those last 5 winters, this would be a snooze event when you think about it, because those were winters where we got much more, certainly this winter, much more than in the way of snow. So it's like we're spending a lot of energy in the event from last Tuesday and now this one, for probably what will amount to a grand total of about 3 to 4 inches for both systems put together.
Right.
I'm tired.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about both systems.
Yeah, both systems.
It's not 3 to 4 inches for tomorrow's event.
Because of course that's what everybody heard.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we're talking about the two systems combined. So there's a whole lot of energy being spent here over what really amounts to a few inches, and there might be a few spots that could get a little bit more. But I'm kind of thinking where we've been in the last couple of days with respect to the forecast is, I think, a good place to be, and I don't really see a whole lot of room for upside.
I mean, I
here.
heard somebody told me or pinged me. Is that the correct way of saying it? By the way, if you send a message via Facebook to somebody, do you say you get pinged, or
I usually say I got a notification.
Notification or whatever. A couple of people say, so what is this? We're getting 3 to 6 inches? Apparently there were some forecasts that were bandying about a 3 to 6 inches.
Well, you know what? A bunch of last night, we will protect the innocent. Okay, but last night, the NAM was, we watched it because we live streamed the NAM here, which no one else does. We noticed that the NAM was rather robust with precip, and I think a bunch of people saw that and kind of panicked, and they suddenly pushed the button and raised the amounts. Now, to be fair, the European this afternoon apparently was a bit on the aggressive side with snow amounts in an area across central New Jersey, say from south of 195 to about just north of Route 78, somewhere in there, where the European was producing some 3, 4, 5 inch amounts, and even extending it to New York City. But in good conscience, right now, I really can't go out and forecast that just based on that run. There's just too much here. There are too many issues with regards to this whole system and how it evolves, and it's problematic to me.
I'm looking at this like let's say the coach of a hockey team, where you have a goalie that has had a hot hand, so to speak, over a number of games, and has shut the opposing team down, or has only allowed a goal or two. I've looked at this winter overall, Joe, up until this moment in time, and if you ignore the oddity that we had in mid-November, where we had, in some cases, 6, 8, even as much as a foot of snow in parts of the Hudson Valley in the wake of that system, but if you look at everything that we've seen so far since, it's been the same story. It's been like a continuous. We get the snow, then all of a sudden we change over to sleet and ice. We end as a little bit of rain.
Which is how the November system happened, except the irony is that one had the most cold air. Compared to all of them. So anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But it's the same thing, and again, once again, we have the mid and high levels of the atmosphere abnormally warm. And
big ridge in the east,
and the low levels remain abnormally cold, or colder than a few thousand feet up, and so we get the snow in the start. And then all of a sudden it changes over, and when it's all over, said and done, what do we have? An inch, 2 inches. That's it.
And then it gets almost immediately washed away by rain overnight, and if that doesn't take care of all of it, whatever's left is going to get melted on Thursday because we're going to 60.
So, and in fact, the temperature, 60 maybe across New Jersey. I'm not sure about the Hudson Valley. I'm talking about maybe low 50s for the Hudson Valley, being a little bit more conservative. I'll be happy to see it go to the mid and upper 50s. Or
well, I think it
60s.
depends if we break out into some sunshine.
Right, and you know what? I think we're going to break out into lots of sunshine. I may be very conservative with that low 50s.
Right.
And then the temperatures on Friday, yeah, they drop back into the 40s, but they're still ahead of the ball game for this time of the year.
All right, so let's watch this on the brand new NAM, which is still not done. It's still it's about 3/4 out now, but it takes us through this whole event. So tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, that snow in Virginia into Maryland actually is probably just starting in Washington, D.C. This run seems to be a little bit slower, at least initially. And at 10 o'clock, it's still not into Philadelphia, and it's it's just getting it's in South Central PA. It's in Harrisburg, probably just getting ready to start in Lancaster. So this is at 10 o'clock. It's in the next 3 hours that you see this thing just kind of blossom out. 11, noon. So by noon, if the dam is right, it's snowing in New York City rather steadily. It looks like there's a fairly decent band in there, and into western Long Island, and by 1 o'clock it's into Suffolk County, and by 2 o'clock it's out to Riverhead. But after this time frame, Joe, you start to really, the high goes out south of Long Island. You're going to start to get that warmer southeast flow. That snow area gets eaten away fairly quickly, and this is at 6 o'clock Wednesday evening. It's already changed over to sleet in central New Jersey.
Right.
It's mostly sleet or freezing rain back into Pennsylvania, and you've got some snow in the Hudson Valley, but the radar presentation here to me is not impressive.
And what is that hole?
Well, that's just it. You got this little hole, these holes that show up, and I wonder when I see something like that, it's worrisome to me. If you're trying to make a case for a higher amount, you certainly don't want to see holes develop in the radar presentation.
Right. And as I just mentioned to you before we began, on the NCEP, now this is the wonderful site that Levi Cohen has produced for all of us to use.
TropicalTidbits.com.
Tropical Tidbits. And one thing I think we ought to, one of us, or maybe both of us, try to email and ask him if he could put Omega, which is on the NCEP site. I'm not exactly sure what Omega is, other than just saying that it shows you the surges, or in various contours, atmospheric energy.
Let me just
and if you
how does this work for you?
Well,
showing the front of Genesis. Actually, this is kind of useful. Is if you look at that where where that dark purple is.
Yeah.
This is Wednesday morning, so this is probably where you're going to have your band of heaviest snow.
Right.
And you'll notice that it's really pretty solid looking as it's over the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, and then it just kind of weakens somewhat as it moves overhead.
Breaks apart a little bit by...
this is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And then that continues. Yeah,
and then after that, it's
basically what I was talking about using the Omega on the NCEP site, is that it comes in like gangbusters, but then all of a sudden, as we get into the mid and late afternoon period, it kind of becomes like
it just
runs out of gas.
And then, of course, we're already at that. Now we're
I'll go way back now. There was a commercial, Shell Oil, Shell Gasoline. They used to have two cars, one with Shell gas and the other with the competitor.
Right.
But they used to tell people that Shell had platformate, and platformate would cause the car to go much further, and so apparently from what I'm looking at here is that we have enough gas to last us until about 4 o'clock, but we don't have the platformate.
Right.
And it just kind of like kind of flat, which is not good news if you want significant snowfall out of this.
Total precip, when you melt it all down between the snow and the rain overnight Thursday night, is going to be on the order of about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, some places a little bit higher. So this lends to the argument that we're going to wind up washing away most of this stuff. And then by the time we get to Thursday, Thursday's looking like improving day. You've got the low southeast of Cape Cod now moving away to the east, and we'll start to turn a little colder, but there's not a cold air mass behind us, just like we had coming in for yesterday and today.
Well, one thing I want to mention about the you talk about how it will be washed away. We are going to get some ice, some sleet and freezing rain on top of the snow during tomorrow night. And if we get any kind of glaze, even if it's a light glaze, based upon what happened last week, even though it warmed up considerably after the storm, the snow, at least around my house, stuck around for quite a few days. And I'm saying, why isn't it going away? We had the bright sunshine, we had the above, and then I came to me, we had that glaze on top of the snow, and I think that actually kind of protects the snow from melting away or whatever.
This was my final call today. It wasn't that different from my early call. I just kind of massaged. Instead of going for like a broad area of 1 to 3, I just decided that maybe I should try to be a rocket scientist and draw exactly where that 2-inch line is, because it's going to be exactly where I put it. All right, but clearly, folks, it's impossible.
Let me just say, you're the only one I know of. I look at other people who draw up snow maps and think you're the only one with right angle snow.
Well, you know what? I don't want to just like splotch a curl. Who knows where they are, Joe?
Right.
Honestly, when you look at a snow map and it's a drawn snow map, you can't possibly get every single spot right. So a line is as good as anything else, and I think it looks kind of neater that way.
When you think also about the fact that especially north and west of New York City, where the mountains are, and the topography, you can't possibly expect it to be just flat out.
Of course,
the same thing. As other places are going to be like little.
I always liked referencing highways because people know where. People in New Jersey, where 78 is, where 80 is, the Route 1 corridor, the Garden State Parkway, Route 22, the Turnpike, et cetera, et cetera. So when you reference the Turnpike or 287 or any of those things, you got a mental picture like, okay, now I know where I am.
You immediately know. Yeah.
Long Island, it's the LIE, and Long Islanders know that the LIE is not only just an east-west roadway, but climatologically, there's a big difference between the snowfalls that occur north of the LIE and south of the LIE.
Absolutely.
That's where elevation begins, and there is elevation on Long Island that creates these little microclimates. So,
Bald Hill.
Bald Hill, exactly, 400 some odd feet above sea level, and a few other big hills in Huntington. But the bottom line is, it's like we've got this arrow pointing from the west-southwest. The unusual nature of this situation where the greatest snow amounts are actually west and south, and then the further north you go of New York City, the amounts are going to decrease because that snow area, as you saw, just kind of gets whittled away as the warm air rapidly moves up the East Coast. There's nothing to hold it back.
And you see, if you just looked at your map, you didn't have any background as to why. But if you looked at something like this, you'd say to yourself, oh, I know what he's trying to imply. The storm to the south, it's going to move off the mid-Atlantic coast. It's going to take all the significant snow just to the south, and that's what's going to. That's not the way this is going to play out.
This is a little different. This is different.
This is the as I said last night, an upside down type event where places to the west and south are getting it because that's where the cold air is going to be maintained the longest.
And that cold air is there now. In fact, I'll just bring up the radar is just very impressive tonight.
Right. As you just said, the super on your YouTube show, it's a super duper warm front.
It is. It's like a 1,000-mile warm front.
Right.
And they're getting where it is raining, because we are seeing snow breaking out in southwestern Virginia and northwestern North Carolina. But where it's raining, they're getting some mega amounts of rain. We're going to wind up with half a foot of rain in some places. This whole wall is just lifting northward.
Right.
The reason why the areas to the south and west are getting it sooner than we are is because when you, with the precip arriving now, if the new surface map will load, please, okay.
Technology, Joe, technology.
Well, it's a slow signal.
Would you like to go back to the days when we started with NAFAX?
No. Okay, no. So the cold air is in place at this point with where the high is. So this really benefits the areas in the mid-Atlantic states. The cold air will be there tomorrow morning as all this precip lifts up.
Right.
The high will slide out to the east, not up to our north, but to the east. So our winds, unlike last Tuesday, if you remember, we had northeast winds.
Right.
Our winds are going to go more east or southeast, and then eventually south.
Right.
And that's going to pretty much just take that area of snow and basically rip it apart.
I don't want to get you aggravated because I know that aggravates you.
You got 5 minutes to aggravate me.
All right. One of the other reasons is the fact that it's happening at night. It's very cold. Every snowflake is going to stick, which will help to accumulate to a greater degree down to the south and west of us, as opposed to Now again, this is going to happen for us starting around midday or afternoon. The sun is in the sky. I'm not talking about sun.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I'm not talking about sun angle, but those infrared rays are going to be coming down.
It's going to have some impact on roadways,
right?
In terms of keeping roadways more clear than anything else. And unless it were to snow really hard, then that nullifies it.
Right.
But it might not snow hard enough in some places to do that. So after 3 or 4 o'clock, you got a few hours where it probably will accumulate on roads.
Right.
Why don't we just take a look and see if the new FOOS numbers are in? Naturally.
Wait a minute, didn't we? I just saw FOOS numbers.
You did. That was the old one.
Oh.
And of course the site has crashed. You want to bet? You see how they listen to us? We really ought to keep these things like really secret, because everybody in there, they must have heard on somewhere about the FOOS.
Well,
and now they're all going to it. This is not fair.
But if they don't know what they're looking at or reading, it's just a jumble of numbers to them.
All right,
there's your next primer.
This is too funny.
How to read the FOOS.
This site is somebody has suggested that I do that, and I'm going to. I can't believe this is down.
Is this the Twister site?
Yes. Do you have another site we can go to?
Yeah. How about what am I? If I tell that, everybody's going to know.
All right, hold on. Just a second. We could sing you could sing a Cole Porter song while I try and find. This is too funny. The entire world is going in there at the same time. Okay, we got it a different way.
There we go.
No, that's an old one.
Really?
Yeah.
NAM 12Z.
May 27, 2010.
Yeah, let me try something.
Go ahead.
All right.
Here, one more. Hold on. Let me try one more. No, that's not good. No.
I don't think so, Joe.
Okay. You go ahead. Try something.
All right. They can't see what I'm doing, can they?
No, they can't. It's all a huge secret.
All right.
Of all sites to crash.
Now this site usually. Where is it?
Yeah,
oh no, there you go, right there. Let's see. Is that it?
No.
No, that's March the 3rd.
Oh God,
2009.
And it's the NGM, no less. The
NGM
doesn't even exist.
Wait a minute. Is there anything?
No, that's the NAM, February 20th.
That's
okay,
it.
There
that's
it. Okay, it's it. We got it. Okay, so you think you outsmarted us? Well, all right. So I highlighted for us, and I'm going to make it a little bigger because our 60-year-old eyes have issues. So look, Joe, it gives us 34 hundredths of liquid during the day, some vertical motion, okay, and it's minus.
My question, Joe, is that by 1 o'clock, LaGuardia has already had
1100. I told you, I was telling you beforehand, it was just coming in. It brings the precip in a couple hours faster.
But that's not what. But that's really not what we saw on the graphic.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Here, look. So this is that's noon. So between noon and 1 o'clock, it puts down 1/10 of an inch.
Oh.
And after that, another 1/4 of an inch. So roughly about 35. Let's just round it off. 3,500. So if every and by 7 o'clock, it's -2, 0, -2 with a little vertical motion. That might be sleet with some wet snow mixing in, so probably in the process of changing.
Yeah.
So that would argue topside, if you counted every drop, it'd be about 2 to maybe 3 inches.
Look at that. They push it all the way up to +1 by 1 o'clock in the morning on the T1.
I don't understand why the NAM is so cold at the bottom of the atmosphere for so long. I don't understand that.
And there's 0.46 actually.
Yeah, another half an inch after that, and then we're done.
All
right. Well,
the maximum VV is tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock at +3.9.
And that's it. So, okay, look, you know what, folks? It is what it is at this point. There's not too much that we can do, that's going to change between now and tomorrow. So the forecast is what it is. You saw the map that we had. The Weather Service map, well, you know what? I'm not even going to go through that. You could find those on, they're on my website. They're on the Weather Service's website. They're everywhere. So go ahead and take a look. Francis Benoit says, I think the reason why this winter's been so quiet with snowstorms is because we've been hammered over the past few years and we were catching a break. Well, you and I have both said we were due for a subpar year, and that's just what this is. And by the way, the U.S. has 56% snow cover right now, which is the most since 2003.
Right. Except we live in the hole.
We live in the hole. The I-95 corridor from Portland, Maine to about Philadelphia, that's the zone. And you go about 75 miles north and west of there and go northward. It's been an average to above average winter. And in some places, like in the upper Midwest and out in the West, it's been an absolutely gangbusters period. But that's just it's our turn to be in the snow hole.
Seattle and Phoenix and even
Las Vegas,
Maui on Hawaii. The snow level dropped to the lowest they've ever seen it. Everybody's getting hammered every which way, but we have this. It's not been totally quiet, and tomorrow night is not going to be easy, perhaps, for some of you to get home. It'll be a problematic night again with snow and ice and sleet. But when you consider, the last 6 years, we've had nothing but heavy-duty snows.
Right.
4 nor'easters.
It was
last
bound
March,
to happen. By the way, Donald Levasseur says it's going to be bad if Lonnie Quinn has Channel 2's Lonnie Quinn has his sleeves rolled up. Now, Donna, just so you know, Lonnie and I are very close. Okay.
Well, you know what they've been doing with Lonnie lately on the 11 o'clock news is they've been putting him outside in the weather lab.
Okay.
They've been setting him up in the weather lab, and you watch him on 53rd Street or whatever, telling you how cold it is out
Well, you know what? We should show up one night in the background and live stream while he's live, and we'll live stream the GFS or the NAM. Because nobody else does that on TV.
The funniest thing I ever saw that happened to Lonnie once, he was in the weather lab, he was live. He said, well, let's take a look right now. And he went to the back of the weather lab to open it up where the screen was, and the door was locked. And he couldn't open up the back of the thing. So they had to throw it back to the studio.
Well, because we got to go, but I just want to say, he's an absolute gentleman. He messaged me a couple of times on Twitter, had some really nice things to say, and it was very, very flattering, to hear from him.
Well, you're the man, Joe. Everybody,
it was very nice, and he's a good guy, and I really
didn't we have
and we are very close.
And didn't we have on CBS the sports Otis Livingston at one time, or maybe that wasn't the Otis Livingston.
No, it was him.
It was him.
Really? Yeah, no, it was him. He was watching. All right, we got to go. It's 9:53. Joe and I will be on at the top of the hour. I will be, doing the Long Island, New Jersey thing on Fios 1 News.
With my former boss, by the way, Janine Rose.
That's correct.
If in case any of you are not unaware, who are News 12 watchers, and are wondering whatever happened to some of us, Janine is here now at Fios 1 News. So come on over and watch what I think is the best weather team, and also now we have one of the best newscasters and news anchors in Miss Janine Rose, and I will be on Lower Hudson Valley with my Gilliam at 10 o'clock. So come on over.
We've got Brian Fitzgerald tomorrow morning. Addison Green will be here midday, and you and I will be back tomorrow night.
Okay.
All right? So we'll be here. We'll be counting every single flake as it comes down. All right.
All the fun tomorrow.
And look, it's a nuisance. This is a few inches. That's all it's going to be. I think there's very little chance for an upside surprise. It'll all get washed away, and then it all gets better on Thursday. Okay. Have a great night. We'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.